this is going to be the run of the race, and there'll certainly be some...
Now, we've spoken about Eduardo de Freitas, who's the race director quite often. Oh, Eduardo Freitas, sorry. And what makes him decide to put out a safety car rather than just the yellow flag zone?
I think in this case it's going to be he needs to have a very good inspection of that barrier. I think if there's any question over the integrity of the barrier, then he will send a safety car, because he needs to buy the time for that. So these slow zones that we saw earlier, they work very well, but they're not the fairest thing, because you might only go through it once. Ooh, and the 98 car has a spin. So the 98 Am car, I think Christopher Nygaard in that car at the moment.
Certainly was. Let's just have a look and see where that was lying. It was leading the class, and indeed it still is leading the class. The last lap, 4 minutes.
That's Paul Dell'Alana taking that car over. So this, I don't think this is going to be a hugely long safety car.
Shouldn't be.
That KCMG car, or as we see a replay here of the number 7 Toyota. What are we going to see here? We saw bits coming off that car earlier. Not entirely certain what's coming off.
Could that be rubber, perhaps?
It looked like a strip of carbon fibre, and to me it looked like it came from the front of the car and then into the airstream at the back and flicked up. Easily done.
Also coming in, one of the Audis.
And the Terrier by TDS car, the class leading. Is he still leading the class? Second in class, so right, okay.
Number 2 Audi comes in. Number 7 Toyota comes in. Looks as though Alessandro Imperatore trying to get the car back to the garage. Why not? Looked as though it was okay. Okay, they had rubbed off the nose, but that looked as though it was all it was.
He was very lucky there, the way that car hit the wall, that it hit in the way it's designed to. It's whether it's damaged the mountings on the chassis for all those components that came off. It does look like the suspension just needs screwing back together. What are we seeing here in front of us? The extraction car.
Ambulance goes out as well. Or rather sort of comes back in, or into the pit lane.
Not entirely certain what we're seeing.
No.
We're seeing a white flag waved in the pit lane for a slow-moving car.
Well, that's for the ambulance.
Which wasn't moving very slowly.
Little bit of something coming off number 12.
That looks like rubber to me.
Looks like, yeah.
And then the number 2 there with these flashing laser lights that Audi have introduced this year. Last year the LEDs, this year the lasers, and they're absolutely phenomenal. As we see nightfall, you'll see they have an absolutely massive range, and we'll see that technology being moved forward to the road cars very shortly, I think. So looks like that car is being pushed back behind the barrier, not going to give him the opportunity, despite being so close to pit in to get that car back. I think if I was the driver, I would be saying, I'm bringing this back.
Yeah.
No reason not to. They can get it put back together, as you say, unless any of those mountings that attach the nose are damaged, but they're all designed to break. That's what it's about. Dissipate the energy in an impact like that.
Yep, Keiko Ihara, the 40-year-old Japanese lady from Japan.
Waiting with the Labra competition guys to get into that car. So it does look like they're giving up with the KCMG car, which is a great shame, because their championship effort is... well, they've been doing a fantastic job in the WEC. They've had 2 second places, and they're really the only challengers, I think, to the 26 G-Drive Racing Morgan. So let's see how that one plays out, if the team get him to get in that car and just try and get some points, because this is a double point scoring round. You can't really afford to not finish here. It can ruin your season. See a Marshall kicking a lump of something across the track.
Obviously trying to get in the World Cup squad.
So just trying to see what else is going on out on track to understand if we're going to be in a longer or shorter safety car period here. But what this has done is bunch up all these battles for us.
Yeah, well, it could be useful for Mark, couldn't it? Mark Webber. Looking at GTE-Pro, Richard Westbrook leading that by 2.7 seconds from Giancarlo Fisichella. So that's really close, somewhere there, right just in front of us. That's really close. And also just 1.3 seconds behind Fisichella is Darren Turner in the Aston. So Chevrolet, Ferrari, Aston Martin, and then Chevrolet again with Jordan Taylor, one of the Taylor brothers, Ricky, his brother, in LMP2 here. And then the two Porsches, they're all on the same lap at the moment. That's Richard Leeds and Nick Tandy in the two Porsches. And so GTE-Pro really, really close.
Kazuki Nakajima there, sitting, waiting to be released at the end of the pit lane, using this opportunity, as we said, to get a stop in. I'd suggest that stop was tyres as well, because that was a 1:21 last pit stop. Sorry, no, that's updated now, so don't know whether that was or wasn't, but you'd be crazy not to have taken new tyres under the safety car like this. Prime opportunity, that's for nothing, because he was going to sit at the end of the pit road anyway. So just trying to work out which cars are in which safety car train. This is one of the things we've been talking about earlier. We end up with 3 safety cars around the circuit, and having 3 safety cars can make battles, well, winners and losers from it. I think we're going to see that in LMP2, the March Liski Ligier is in one of probably the first safety car Crocodile, and unfortunately it's broken that battle up, because certainly the sector times would indicate that the first three in that class have ended up, yeah, like John Lancaster and Ollie Webb in the second safety car train, and Tristan Gomedi just on an outlap, so hard to say, but we'll see where that is. I think he's probably in the third train.
Something to keep an eye on, actually, in the LMP2 class with the 35 Ligier with the relatively inexperienced Schultz Hitzke in the lead there, but whereas you've got John Lancaster, who's a real charger of a single-seater driver, in second place, 1 minute and 55 seconds behind, and Ollie Webb's going to be pushing him in third place, and again, he's a quick peddler as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to see a great battle there pushing through. Shame that they're not in the same Crocodile, because that would make it very, very entertaining for the first few laps after this safety car.
Well, I'm surprised it's still out there. I'm not awfully certain what...
I think there's something more going on than we're aware of.
We're not seeing it.
Nobody else seems to be seeing it. Okay, so that's Eduardo Freitas you heard there, talking about cleaning out the debris from around the track. So that's why we're seeing this safety car.
Sort of having a general hoover.
Yes, absolutely, making sure that the shards of, over the last hour, we've seen quite a lot of bits flying off cars, so I think that's probably a good opportunity. We've also seen some punctures, so he'll be concerned over safety, of course, and he wants to ensure that all the drivers are out there and as safe as they can be. So absolutely the right thing to do when he had the opportunity to throw a safety car and tidy up the circuit and surrounding areas. So you see the KCMG driver there with one of their team photographers, by the looks of it, walking back to the car, but he's now walked too far away from that car, so that car is now an official retirement.
Yeah, you're not allowed to walk too far away from it, otherwise it's treated as though you've abandoned the car, therefore that's it.
We look into the, is that the Lara garage? I think it is. The Porsche guys and girls ready for somebody.
I guess Imperatore must have stalled the car and couldn't get it restarted. Otherwise, no reason why he shouldn't have gone back.
Absolutely, unless there's something fundamental like we saw earlier with the Audi, where the drive shaft had gone through the side of the gearbox casing and spilt the oil out of the gearbox, at which point there was no way those marshals were going to let him drive that car, spilling oil down the Mulsanne straight back, which, you know, absolutely right thing to do. And we saw the car get scooped up. I'm sure if it hadn't been for that, he would have driven that car back. So just very difficult to see from here why exactly they haven't. But certainly those marshals have said, you're not driving that back. And even if it is the 100 metres that he's got to go to the pit in from where he had the incident.
Look at that lead now has actually extended to 8 minutes. Of course, that's with a very slow lap from Nakajima to Marcel Fessler and the number 2 Audi. We're riding on board with a 51 Ferrari.
Just going to try and look at the GPS and see which safety car train the 2 is in. Because if the 2 is in the train I suspect it is, then we'll just try and get the GPS. Try and work out which safety car train it's in, because if they're both in the same train, that's in effect there. They're all grouped too close together to be able to see, really, on the GPS system we have here at the circuit. Almost see by colours, but not quite.
Yeah, it's difficult to see, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all grouped on top of one another on the screen. They're that close. So we see Johnny Molam there in the 53 Ram Racing car. Unfortunately, those guys losing some time. Again, another one we're not entirely certain why. And we should talk about the Nissan ZEOD quickly, just to cover that one off, because that car unfortunately retired on I think the 3rd lap of the race with a gearbox failure. And talking to the guys, absolutely gutted, something they have seen elsewhere in testing, and something that was
so safety car could be coming in at the end of this lap. If you were at this circuit, you'll be able to see that perhaps the lights go out on the safety car. He does sort of keep his options open, doesn't he, Eduardo Freitas?
He's normally quite decisive. This weekend he seems to be trying to keep his options open more, absolutely. But he is a fantastic race director. The things that he's done, the things that he's brought to this are really brilliant. He's become quite a personality with his on-air antics as well. He can be quite humorous sometimes, so listen out for him. So I think this is it, the safety car. No, safety car continuing. So
no, but it doesn't come in the normal pit lane. It comes in
lights
here,
still on though.
Yeah,
so,
the lights are still on.
But the safety cars don't have to peel off back in the same place that they came on.
Well, it'd be nice for them to have
absolutely.
They
get somewhere else to sit for a few hours. So interesting. I'm very surprised to hear Lena Gade talking about tyre pressures that openly on an open radio channel. Not sure we should have heard that. I think that might well have been the wrong button, because yeah, that's something you don't tell your competitors, who are also on Michelin tyres of the same construction compound. Quite a differential there between the front and rear tyre.
So the safety car in this lap, as you can see on the screen.
So that could be anywhere in the lap, because equally these cars are, I think the lights are out on that safety car.
Yeah, it looks like
so,
it, doesn't it?
We're going to see, yeah, and Tracy Crone there leading that crocodile in that green car. Why he did that, I don't know.
Was it Tracy Crone himself? Or let's have a look and see who it was or is.
Backing the pack up and then accelerating. So one of the ways to generate temperature, the best way to generate temperature really is on the brakes, on the brakes, off the brakes and on the throttle. Keep doing that because you build the temperature of the brake as well as the wheel, and ultimately that keeps the tyre warm.
I think it was Ben Collins, perhaps, potentially. Is he in that car?
Ben is in that car.
Yeah. So I think it was Ben Collins. Actually, quite well placed at the moment in the class. It's a big class. A lot of people further back behind him.
They're doing a stellar job, those Crone guys. They've often come here and had a rough run, but they're doing an absolutely stellar job this weekend. We haven't seen that car off the road. We haven't seen that car in trouble. And they're doing what they need to do to get it round. And Ben, of course, should have been in the Ram Racing entry, but a last-minute switch there, and great to see him back here in the Crone car as the safety car comes in, and everybody's away. Some of the couple of cars coming into the pits,
including the Rebellion, curiously enough. It's rather strange to come in then, but the Rebellion comes in from 5th place with Matthias Besch on board, the Swiss driver. So we've already got a yellow flag, actually, at, yeah, just at Porsche curves. Car 66, that was, that has gone off there. So almost, presumably, under the safety car.
That's Spencer Pumpley. So right, that car's just come out of the pits, having had new brakes fitted. So let's see what comes of that. But yeah, they've literally, that must be. It's not their out lap, I don't think. Didn't see an O next to the car on the timing screens in front of us. But yeah, he's obviously had an issue there with brand new brakes on that car. So they see you see the cars coming down to Indianapolis, iconic area of the circuit, absolutely fantastic place to watch. The banked corners, often see lots of small errors there.
Once upon a time, I knew my way around all those woods at the back, through all the lanes and the sandy lanes there. It's all very sandy ground around here.
I went exploring last year, and it is great. You can really get to the outside of that Indianapolis corner, and certainly the inside of Arnage. Some of the places you can get are fantastic. I'm not sure I should have been in some of the places I was,
exactly.
but it was fantastic to go and see, and you just get a real appreciation for what these cars are doing and the energy involved in everything they do, the braking events, the way they accelerate. And I think we've all been shocked that haven't been to the first WEC rounds to see how quickly these new hybrid cars accelerate off the corners. The Audi with its four-wheel drive technology, the Toyota, which is putting its power down through the front axle as well. It's additional. Oh, and a puncture for Spencer in the JMW car. That's the problem there. Left rear puncture.
And there's one of your tear-offs coming off the screen. No, is this what happened? He was trying to...
Well, it does look like he locked the brakes rather than... So clearly some braking issue on that car, and that's with new discs and pads all round. Could even just be that, just caught out by new discs and pads that needed a little bit of bedding.
We have got 3 cars on the lead lap: Nakajima, Fassler and Genet, so Toyota and 2 Audis. But I'm afraid to report to Australians as they wake up this morning that Mark Webber is a lap down in 4th place. And then 5th is Matthias Besch, about 3 laps behind him. A further lap behind him is Romain Dumas, but gaining, you can imagine. And then a couple of laps further back is the battle over LMP2 with Schultz-Hitzky in the Ligier number 35, John Lancaster and the Orica about 44 seconds behind, and less than 6 seconds behind him is Ollie Webb. So just watch out for the progress of 34 and 36 behind 35. That's the LMP2 battle. Richard Westbrook out in the lead in the Chevy in LMP Pro with Darren Turner 2 seconds behind, and then of just 4/10 further back is Giancarlo Fisichella. So a fantastic battle going on in GT-Pro after 7 hours.
Absolutely, how close is that?
Or nearly 7 hours anyway.
It's the top 6, isn't it, altogether, and the leader in the Am class, Paul Dalla who we saw have the spin just before the safety car came out up the Dunlop chicane. In comes the, I think that's the 35 car. Yep, so that's the Nissan-backed Ligier.
That was the class-leading car, so they're trying to get him back out again as quickly as possible. I think Shulhitsky stayed.
I think
stayed in the car.
Yeah, I think they did. No, we're seeing a new driver in there. I think that's Jan Mardenborough getting in with his BRDC Rising Star. Yeah, that's Jan. Recognise those eyes anywhere. So Jan currently signed by Infinity Red Bull Racing on their driver development program, and I wouldn't be surprised. This is him in his third full season of motorsport. Here competing at Le Mans, having finished on the podium last year in the Greaves Zytek. Just absolutely astonishing story. And if you ever get the chance to talk to him or listen to any of the things that he says in some brilliant interviews that he's done about the way he was brought up and the things he's done and the privileged life that he's now leading, he is a very, very special guy to talk to.
And he's also doing GP3 as well.
As part of his Infinity Red Bull package, absolutely. And his career could go either way, couldn't it? You know, we could see him in a single-seater very soon at a top level, or in a Nissan LMP1 car next year.
Yeah.
I suspect it's going to be a pretty difficult decision for himself and Darren Cox to make as to which way they go, because I'm certain Darren would love to have him in that LMP1 car, but the story, yeah, that's very, very close. The story of having Jan go to Formula One would be quite amazing, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Well, he's been into the pits, and he left the pits just, well, I think it was slightly, what can we say, artificial, but he was just ahead of John Lancaster. And now it's Ollie, they both came into the pits, so now Ollie Webb is in the Alpine number 36 is in the lead, and there's somebody using a chicane which they don't have to use.
That's the 88 car, and not more issues there for those guys at Pro Speed. Really struggling, it seems, this weekend. This GTE battle, it just rages on. What you're seeing there is the 51.458 chasing down the 97 Aston, and the Aston, they're on the Corvette as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're right on the
first three.
Tail. You can't get much closer. This is after just coming up to 7 hours in a moment, with Westbrook, then Darren Turner, and then Giancarlo Fisichella, Grand Prix winner.
Richard Leake's only 1 minute 40 behind them, so he got split by the safety cars as well. So Richard Leeds in the Porsche, in the factory Porsche, and the 92, the 91 with Nick Tandy on board, following him as well. They've been stuck together like glue. And
the two Porsches actually lapping quicker than those ahead, only fractionally, but they're lapping quicker.
This class is going to come down to luck of the draw at this rate. If they can all continue like this, as strong and as reliable as they are, then we're going to see the safety cars and how they fell defining how this class goes, because as soon as you get out of sequence on the pit stops, then you're in a situation where you can win, you can lose. When they're running together like this, there's never going to be an issue because they're all going to end up behind the same safety car. But that's what we've seen with the Porsches, slightly out of sequence on the stops. Those guys having done, in the case of Richard Leeds, 2 less stops than the class leaders. In the case of Nick Tandy, 1 less, which is the reason that they've ended up split from the lead battle. But they're very much in it.
Look at that, tremendous stuff. Westbrook, Turner, and Fisico sort of saying, I think I'll just hang back here and let those two sort it out between them.
I think you're absolutely right. I think he doesn't want to get involved in somebody else's accident, does he?
Yeah.
He's experienced enough to know, as we see the Corvette and the Ferrari run very wide.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Eduardo Freitas is letting people get away with that. I'd have thought by now he would have been having a few wrist-slapping moments, but obviously they've all bribed him at Drivers' Parade.
Well, you can imagine, you know, what could happen. We just saw it a moment ago with Imperatore there.
Yeah, that was interesting how that car gripped up and then pitched him right into the wall. It's sort of a high side, you would have called it in bike terms, but not uncommon. You see it certainly on the exit of Copse at Silverstone quite often, when the car just changes direction on that high grip surface and just goes around. And yeah, it's there. The racetrack's the bit between the two white lines, and Yeah, they've been quite good at policing that at other races. So let's see. I think as the race goes on, they'll become more and more impatient with that. As they come through Terre Rouge, you can see there the yellow lights dictating that that's a GTE car that's chasing him down.
Marcel Fessler lapping slightly quicker than Kazuki Nakajima on the last lap.
So that's interesting. We see Ollie Pla in the 26 Morgan for the first time, I think. And straight away, personal fastest time for that car in the first sector. And I think he's hungry. He's chasing it down.
The Aston's made it. He's made it through. Great delight in the Aston garage. But you've got a long way to go, guys. You've got a lot of clapping to be done yet.
That is fantastic to see Darren Turner just get the legs on them. There's been a lot of discussion about balance of performance in this class, but if you ask me, they've got it absolutely spot on. You can't ask for more than this, to have the Porsche, the Corvette, the Ferrari and the Aston all there on the same lap after 6 hours, battling away and battling wheel to wheel, no less.
Actually, the Porsches have been left behind a bit in terms of lap times. Westbrook actually the slowest of the three leaders on the last lap, but we're talking about fractions here, so it's not worth talking about.
I think the Porsche is more fuel efficient. I think that's what we're seeing here. They're doing less stops. So the Porsche can get it back every sort of 3 stints, and we'll see this cycle of them suddenly being back on them. So these cars drive away, the Porsches come forward as they don't have to do so many stops, and it will just cycle like this all race. And as I say, I think that the safety car is probably what's going to really have the biggest influence on this, unfortunately, but there's nothing that can be done about that.
Well, Marcel Fessler now getting into the 3-minute 25-second bracket, whereas last time around Nakajima was in the 3 minutes 28s, Genet in the 3 minutes 29s, Mark Webber 3:31s. So, and that can vary, but with the electric power available, the hybrid available.
Ebbs and flows with traffic, but equally the amount of energy used per lap. You can see that having an effect on this. It's done over a 3-lap rolling average. So these cars able to use, in the case of the Audi, 2 megajoules. Ollie Pla sets a personal best, 340.7 in the 26 Morgan. He's trying to chase down, and he is on the same lap as the leaders. Yeah, he wants to close that gap.
Well, actually, that is the fastest lap that we had that time around. Of course, Mardenborough and Lancaster both came into the pits. Ollie Webb lapping 3:47, and Ollie Pla 3 minutes 40.
It's the pace is very fast in LMP2. So yeah, back to the energy calculations. So Audi choosing to be in the 2 megajoule category within the LMP1 class, and both Toyota and Porsche 6 megajoule, producing that power very, very differently in terms of the engine size and the way they are storing the electrical energy or kinetic energy that's producing the extra horsepower. Just trying to see what's going on here in this GTE battle, because Darren Turner now driving away from Richard Westbrook and Giancarlo Fisichella, but then they catch him again through the quick stuff. So let's see how this one pans out. Yeah, the Toyota, they supercapacitor on that. They claim that the combination of the V8 3.7 litre engine and the supercapacitor used to deliver the electrical energy through the front and rear wheels gives that car nearly 1,000 horsepower. They're quoted at the start of the year as more than 1,000, and then ever since talked about nearly 1,000. So massive amount of power generated by these cars, which is why we saw the pole time this year quicker than last year, despite the cars having less grip with a narrower tyre this year. But absolutely flying machines in a straight line with these hybrid systems. So we're seeing the GTE-Am Porsche 991 GTE car of Proton competition in the pits. This has to be one of the fancied runners in the Am class. Al-Kasabi getting strapped into that car, I think. And that car currently running third in class. Nicky Team in the Aston leading the class, I believe, with Andrea Bertolini second, and that car third. This GTE battle just rages on. It's everything we could want in terms of a wheel-to-wheel battle. 7 hours into this race, as they head down towards Indianapolis now. We're seeing a replay here of the 97 car making that pass on the Corvette. Coming into the first chicane, I think. Lots of excitement in the garage, as we saw, and through he went. It was a simple pass. So that's how it stayed since. And I think it's probably going to stay that way until the pit stop, and they just seem to be quite happy settled there. And I think there's probably a degree of calm down, boys. This is a long race, and we don't want to take each other off. And Giancarlo Fisichella being sensible enough, as we said before, just to sit and watch the action.
Well, Darren Turner lapping 356 last time around. Richard Westbrook 358, Giancarlo Fisichella 357, and the Porsches 359, and Jordan Taylor 359 in the second of the Chevrolet Corvettes as well. So they're lapping within, what, three seconds of one another, which is all pretty close stuff. Olivier Pla, meanwhile, in LMP2 has set 2 personal bests so far, and although he's being left behind by Anthony Davidson, who overtook him, that's the fastest lap in LMP2, although Jan Mardenborough also just
personal best.
Yeah, personal best, just 0.4 of a second slower. Westbrook into the pit, Fisichella into the pits.
The race is really on in the LMP2 class. I think we're seeing Jan reacting to Ollie Pla pushing on, despite the fact Ollie's 151 back from them.
Actually more than that, I think.
Mardenborough comes through to take the class lead on pit stop rotation. That's all equal now.
Webb into the pits.
All on nine stops. Now that Webb has completed that sequence of stops. Ollie Pla on 10. They got caught out by the weather early on, hence the extra pit stop, and them not being up there with the others. But they'll be there shortly with Ollie Pla in the car chasing on like that. But Jan Mardenborough takes the class. Ollie Pla now gone 2 more personal best sectors in the in that 26 Morgan, so he really is pushing on. He's been sent out there on a mission to get this done, get back on those guys and be in that race. 21 seconds behind Jan Mardenborough is John Lancaster in the Orica, and car 42 reported having no lights, front or rear. Somebody's forgotten to flick a switch, hopefully. Car 42 being the one of the Zytecs run by the Greaves Motorsport squad. Yeah, so Jan Mardenborough 21 seconds up the road with Ollie Webb 34 seconds behind Jan. They really are pushing on, and they've got Alan Davidson in the middle of them, but he'll have got through that little tussle fairly quickly. So seeing some highlights now from the last few hours. So as the sun goes down, we're starting to see the glare of those lights. There you see a good example of how we can distinguish between those two cars, the prototypes and the GTE cars, the white.
So that's Mark Webber being told to pit this lap for fuel. He's picked up the pace a little bit, 3:28. It's still the slowest of the first 4 cars for Mark Webber.
That's another 13-lap stint from those guys. We're not seeing what we expected of the 14-lap stints. I was confident that those guys would be able to do it in the Porsche if nobody else could. That car just a little bit more slippery, I think, than the Toyota.
42, incidentally, was the Caterham Racing Zytek.
Yeah, those guys, no lights on, but I'm sure that'll be either rectified very quickly at the flick of a switch, or it back into the pits extremely quickly. So Ollie Pla continues to go quicker, setting a fastest time for the class, 3:39.5, chasing down the. He's initially the Ollie Webb car will be the first one he comes across.
Or Gomendy, in fact, yeah.
Gomendy with a very long last stop, 4:41. So I'm not sure what happened there. That would have been under safety car and held at the end of the pit lane, I think. As we see Mark Webber coming into the pits, I think. On lap 104.
So here comes the Porsche into the pits with Mark Webber aboard, and it's just going to be fuel, so they say.
So cleaning the number boards, making sure that the ACO guys are happy that those numbers can be seen. It's one of the things, like the headlights, that's very important to them. And the fuel's still going in, and away he goes.
That's it.
Little splutter. Does he get away?
Yeah. And he rejoins, so still in 4th place. His 4th place isn't under pressure at all. He's about 3 or 4 laps ahead of 5th place Matthias Besch in the Rebellion. So he's in a safe 4th place at the moment. Besch in 5th place, and then the Porsche of Romain Dumas in the second of the Porsches. Number 14 in 6th place, who is on the same lap as Matthias Besch. So he's lapping last time 9 seconds per lap quicker, or per that lap anyway, quicker than Matthias Besch, Romain Dumas. So could well easily move into 5th place fairly soon. So we'd have Porsches 4th and 5th.
Yep, and Mark Webber will be pressing on to see what he can do about closing that gap to the Audi number 1.
Just after 10 o'clock at night, and it's still quite light, in fact, even though they've got the headlights on. It's still really, you know, it's quite easy for us to distinguish things across the track from maybe a couple of 100 yards, a couple of 100 meters. But it's obviously getting darker all the time.
The fight in the LMP2 class really hotting up now. We're seeing green sector times from lots of those guys. So Tristan Gomendy playing the game with Ollie Pla and Jan Mardenborough, all pressing on. Pla's last lap a little bit slower than the 3:39 we'd seen from him the previous lap, which I think is the fastest lap in the class so far. But he lost some time there, I guess, with traffic, as Mardenborough sets another personal best to extend the lead in the class. 5 seconds quicker on that last lap than John Lancaster in the Oreca.
Here's a replay. Ooh, sparks coming there. Now, why would that be?
We've seen that since the resurfacing. It's been common all week that there's a dip there in the surface, and there's some spectacular sparks as the cars load up over them. I don't think it's doing anybody any harm. It just looks very spectacular for us.
Now, Nakajima's laps, the last lap was 3:25, and Marcel Fessler also in the 3:25s. Chenet, the 3:28. So a little bit slower for Marc Chenet. in the Audi, whereas the two leaders very, very close, just a couple of tenths of a second apart. Nothing at all.
97 pitch from the class lead.
And that was Darren Turner into the pits. Well, that is Darren Turner into the pits. Here it is.
This is going to be a fuel-only stop. Going in and changing something in that cockpit for Darren. Now, what is that? Some little arrows. I don't know what that is. We'll have to go and have a snoop.
Jan Mardenborough now setting his fastest time. Look at that, seventh overall, lapping his fastest time. Tristan Gomendy now sets his fastest time. It's though these cooler temperatures are helping as well.
Absolutely. Suddenly that class has just come alive, and it's going to be quite nice when Ant Davidson gets past Jan Mardenborough and we have them all together again on the timing screen, which Ant's going to do this lap, I think, at the current pace. But Jan, yet again, Jan setting a personal best in Sector 2. So they've all been told get to it, and Harry Ticknell as well.
He's doing the job as well, yeah.
They're all pushing on. Harry a lap back, but he knows that he's got to respond to this phenomenal pace we're seeing from the LMP2 cars, especially that Ligier. I mean, reliability so far, touch wood, doesn't seem an issue for that car. They're just pressing on so hard, and so impressed with what the on-road guys have done, racing guys have done with that car, because you know, they came here last year and were the underdog and won it, but with the old Morgan. But now the new Ligier they've developed, just phenomenal to see that car out leading the class. And it has to have led to the majority of the race between the Mardenborough car, the TVA by TDS car. They've been well away.
And Mark Genet also sets a personal best in the first sector, and actually on this lap sets the fastest lap. There he is, that's number 2, that's Marcel Fessler, the Swiss driver, teamed up with Andre Lotterer and Benoit Trellier.
So the Porsche drive shaft seemed to be fixed. Something we saw on the 91 and the 92 GTE-Pro car.
Well, we were talking about vibrations earlier on, and that's where the vibrations were coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think you know they've seen some failures and they've responded to them very quickly back at the factory. Parts being delivered here yesterday to resolve the issues that they'd seen. So let's see how that one pans out. But
that was a bit naughty, wasn't it?
Porsche nearly getting assaulted by the Pegasus Racing. I think that is that blue LMP2 car.
Yeah.
There's going to be some words had there, I think. That would have been a very expensive mistake. Really starting to look dark down the Mulsanne now. The number 1 Audi coming down into the second chicane. You just don't get a feel for the speed of them. So just through Mulsanne kink into Mulsanne corner. And now the run up to Indianapolis. Going to catch a GTE car pretty rapidly. That looks like a 458 from the headlights. And he's going to blast past that. So that is one of the Corvettes we see with the front wing coming off it, right? Have they had a puncture?
That's bad news. Nicholas Leutweiler, that was in the Pegasus car.
So the 73 Corvette, this is not good for those guys that have been running so strongly. 2 minutes 11 in the pit lane so far. Jordan at the wheel, is it?
Jordan Taylor there.
Looks to me like they're working on a pair of mole grips going in down there. Trying to see what they're doing. Just adjustable spanner. Yeah. Something down there in the A-pillar that needs tending to, and they've had to just not pop the front wing off to do it, but rather than remove the front wing entirely and get in there properly, choosing just to hold it back. So I guess there must be some wiring or something that would be time-consuming to remove in that front wing, otherwise they'd have that off so that they have proper access. As we see, the number 1 car coming down pit lane, a bit of a moment there as he came in, pushing on past us.
That's Mark Genet, who had just set a very quick time, a 3 minutes 24.5 last time around in the #1 car he's sharing with Tom Christensen.
Mark will be staying in that car, and I think this will be a fuel-only stop.
Jan Mardenborough setting his another quick time in the lead of LMP2, and here is the Audi into the pits, the 4-litre diesel engined car. Amazingly quiet.
I think we're going to call this happy hour, Bob, because the number of green sectors on our timing screen at the moment is phenomenal, as we see the Ferrari, 51 Ferrari, going to drag past the 97 car, and that's on the run into the second chicane, I think.
Because Fisico actually is in the lead of this class now. We've had quite a few. 77 pit stop under investigation. Not certain why that should be.
Could be too many men over the line, or...
that's the Foster, Dempsey, Pat Long
third in class. They don't want to be throwing that away.
No.
It's Joe Foster in that car now.
And when we talk about Patrick Dempsey, yes, we mean that Patrick Dempsey. Here again for the third time, I think, in Le Mans.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, a very handy driver he is too. As Jan Mardenborough sets another green sector. This is turning into a real sprint into the evening in the LMP2 class. I just hope they're not all pushing too hard, because LMP2 has at times been a race of attrition. So Giancarlo Fisichella not really pulling a gap to the Aston. 0.7 seconds, staying pretty constant there, as we see from the split times on the screen. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Aston tow back past him, which is, I think, exactly what we're about to see. No, they're going into the Mulsanne corner. I don't think he's going to be making a move up to Indy. So brakes now starting to glow. You're starting to see that. Fantastic shots this time of night.
Well, I was about to say a third of a second between the two of them. What's the point of saying that? Just extraordinary after 7 hours and nearly 20 minutes of racing.
I think Darren Turner's going to prove me wrong, isn't he?
We're always trying.
Don't do it, Darren. It's not worth it.
So long. I get press releases from Darren Turner, and an awful lot of them seem to tell hard luck stories, so touch wood this time. But he's up against a former Formula 1 driver, Giancarlo Fisichella there, and a winner in Formula 1 as well. So not easy. And of course the Ferrari run by the ubiquitous AF course. Why do I say ubiquitous? Because they've got about 9 cars here. They've got a load of about 7 458s, Ferrari 458s, but a couple of LMP2 cars as well that they're running for SMP. And
so that's Audi, and that's the Toyota, I think.
Fascinating stuff, isn't it? Through the Porsche curves, absolutely weaving past them.
I think that's where the 458 has its strength, in those really fast, long corners. Very different layout of those two cars. The Aston front-engined, rear-wheel drive, gearbox at the back, and the Ferrari mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, of course. Stunning to see those two cars racing together like that.
Look at that, the gap. Zilch, or half a second last time.
Absolutely. So Darren now pressing on. I think they should just hold station for a few laps, but Darren keen to get back by.
Giancarlo Fisichella in the Ferrari. Darren Turner sharing with Stefan Mucke and Bruno Senna. Bruno Senna, of course, the nephew of the late and the great Ayrton Senna. One little light on the Ferrari, 2 little lights on the Aston, denoting first and second in class.
Yeah, and just to finish that, the yellow headlights denoting GTE and the white LMP, so that the drivers can work out what's coming from behind them and whether they need to be concerned in getting out of the way. we still haven't seen what's gone on with that Corvette that's in the pits. The
is it still
it's
there?
come off the screen, actually. It means that the 98 and the 95 have been promoted, and I think he is still going to be in the pits.
No, he's on his way out. Jan Magnussen bringing 73 back out again after the problems that they had, but that puts them last in the pro class, I think, unless we count.
We say last, but it's also close that... Yeah, the Bleekemolen car was entered in the Am class, but because Jerome has ended up driving that car with Cooper McNeil, without Brett Curtis in the car, they've been told, sorry, you're pros. So bumped up into the pro class after qualifying.
But the point, just to go back to this battle in GT-Pro, just 29 seconds further back is the Chevrolet Corvette of Oliver Gavin. So we may have had a problem with one Chevrolet, but the other one isn't very far away. And then Richard Leitz has actually gained on the in the Porsche. Number 92 has gained. Now they've just made a pit stop, so it's now Fred Makovici, and in fact Nick Tandy has taken over from their teammates in the Porsche. So Nick Tandy from UK in number 91 is now 4th in class. Fred Makovici is now 5th in class.
Absolutely, and just seeing those guys pressing on now, just unrelenting. The Porsches will be back on those guys, as I say, within a few pit stops, the way the rotation will work, and then we'll see, well, we're going to see a hell of a race again. The pictures we had earlier of 5 cars in a train in the first hour, we're going to be back to that, but still these green sector times coming. Harry Ticknell in the Joe Zytek in the LMP2 class, setting a personal best on the last lap. And René Rast now chasing him down, setting another green. This is happy hour. This is, we're all out there to go and set our green sectors and get the job done. Not so many purple, which is the fastest of all, but you get those at the start of the race when the classes are all running together, and it's very difficult with the traffic to get those purple times again as the race runs on.
Very interesting to see René Rast in the Oreca number 24 in LMP2, because he was such a Porsche specialist, and twice won the Porsche Supercar, and yet here he is in a LMP2 car, and a very different sort of beast for him. So very interesting to see him racing one of these. Currently, I think about 6th in class or 7th in class in the LMP2. So Mardenborough leading in the Ligier, from Lancaster in the Oreca, Webb in the Alpine, then Gomendy Ligier, Plat in the Morgan, Tinknell in the Zytek, and then René Rast in the Oreca. Behind him is Christian Klein, former Grand Prix driver in the Morgan number 43. So you can just gauge the quality in LMP2.
And Davidson bringing the 8 Toyota into the pits now. That car quite a few laps down, 8 laps down on the leaders, and pushing on hard and playing that support role. So we see the atmosphere, the concert. I'm not sure who's playing tonight. We've had a concert each night out just over by the Dunlop Bridge. So fuel only, Fran. Some other work just going to go on. Now that's recharging the oil system. The guy with the backpack on, he's that's full of oil, and it's a pressurized system. He just pushes a little pop-it valve on the side of the car, replenishing that. I'm surprised to see this on a stop when they're not doing tyres. I would have thought they would have done that on a tyre stop. That seems to be just time going away from them, but equally they're not really in this race. They're there now to do a support role to that number 7 car that's leading the race.
Just watching Jan Mardenborough there, you just realise how much they are on it at the moment. You know, this is very serious stuff.
As the 2 car stops outside the Team Urst garage, and that's, again, no tyres there. Marcel Fassler on board that car. Screen tear-off comes off, the visibility becoming very difficult. Inspection, as always, the very diligent Audi guys down on their hands and knees looking in the grille for rubber, making sure that the car is good to go. And away it goes. goes.
2 lights on denotes it's second in class. Comes out right
How
behind.
many times have we seen that now? The Toyota and the Audis trying to assault each other in the pit lane constantly. We saw that right at the start. We saw it while we were off air, while our co-commentators were here, and now again. So they're desperate to have one another off in the pit lane.
Anthony Davidson there, who drops down behind 3 of the LMP2 cars with that last pit stop.
Paul Dall'Alana leading the Pro-Am class in the GTE Aston. He's doing a solid job out there. Paul, yeah, Canadian, that little known really until he got into the Aston, really. And he's been with the Aston team now for a couple of years, but absolutely solid. And a big guy too, solid in more than one way. But yeah, fantastic job there from those guys in that Aston. And they've got the 73 Corvette behind them as we see the 7 car, the leader stops. This is going to be lights being cleaned, fuel going in only, I think. No oil for this one, I don't think. Drinks bottle changed. So that's now 9 stops for the number 7 lead car. Those glowing brakes. Catalytic converter glowing away there as well.
Yeah.
The producer's having some fun with us now.
Lovely shot. Lovely stuff. Would they have, how much do they have to have standard brakes? Can they use carbon, carbon brakes? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The LMP cars are on carbon brakes. It'll be interesting to see who has to change pads when. But the GTE class cars on a steel brake, they can use carbon metallic pads. But certainly a more traditional setup on the GTE cars. But no, all the LMP cars you see out here with carbon, so carbon brake pad onto a carbon disc.
Wow, there you go. Wonderful shot from the helicopter.
Stunning, isn't it? The town of Le Mans in the background.
Yeah.
So the 14 Porsche pressing on. This is the other car that ran into trouble. These guys
I cannot brake. That doesn't sound encouraging, does it, from Romain Dumas?
not when you're doing 330 kilometers an hour down the Mulsanne. No, it sounds to me like he's got some kind of vibration again from that, because I think the car can brake. It's not, he doesn't mean he can't stop it, but I think he means it's difficult.
Yeah, exactly. There's Clone Racing, 8th in class at the moment. Very distinctive colours for Tracy Krone's Ferrari.
Tracy talking about making the switch to LMP2 for next year in the WEC, which would be great to see. It's exactly the sort of outfit that would do extremely well. Certainly Tracy driving absolutely brilliantly this year. We've seen him absolutely consistent on it.
And we should make a point that he is a he.
He is a he, yes, of course.
Yeah.
So the 67 car has been reported to the stewards for speeding in pit lane. And who is the 67? The 67, the IMSA Performance Map. Look at those guys, if they had any luck this year.
Another miserable, very difficult weekend. They were running 3 cars in the Porsche Carrera Cup race, which was actually sort of a Britain versus France match race.
Won by Britain.
Won by Britain. with Ben Barker, who actually doesn't take part in the Carrera Cup in the UK any longer anyway. He does Super Cup, but
yeah, I don't think he could pass up the opportunity to come to Le Mans and show those guys at Porsche what he could do.
Yeah.
But he's an absolutely brilliant driver. He's won the Carrera Cup GB twice, I think. So he's a very good little driver, and we'll see him here soon enough, I believe.
And he's had a win in Porsche Carrera Cup, in Super Cup, I think, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing Jan Mardenborough back ahead of Ant Davidson because of the pit stop rotation there. So the P2 car ahead of that P1 Toyota. But yeah, Mardenborough, I mean, honestly, that guy, I think he's 21 now.
Oh, just a small touch. You get away with that,
I
maybe.
think he has, hasn't he? Yeah. So it's good, just as you say.
That's into R9, so that's like this slowest corner on the track.
Luckily for him.
Just misjudged it on the brakes. The cars in front got on the brakes, and you know he's in a P2 car and just can brake a lot later, and just didn't, and you know snagged the back of the Ferrari in front.
Gaggle of cars going past us there. The Degrassi car, third quickest of those boys on the last lap, but 5 seconds quicker than Brendan Hartley behind him. Hartley's about to post another time. He's about to go.
Yeah, Hartley's. Yeah, so Hartley's he's had his first lap out being a 3:33 from the pits after he stopped, and he's back into a 3:29 now, which is reasonably on it. But still, you know, the guys in front are still doing 26s, 28s, and then you've got Buemi down there doing 3:24. So he's obviously pulled away from his little battle with
yeah, and he's now just focused on
Trellaway.
himself. Yeah,
he was in front. He was getting a couple of blue flags, and then he was off. He just pulled away.
Okay, so
fastest lap overall, 3:23. So actually Buemi's not far away from that now. He's 3:24.
that's it. 2 sets of tyres for all of them, apart from the 14 car, which has gone 3 sets.
So this is the Michelin performance. I still, after many years, I still don't know how they work that out. Some kind of
I'm pleased you said
economy tires, fuel. Yeah, anyway, I'm sure it's very clever logarithms or something.
Got a feeling it's far more clever than we are, as our chip
Mark's still not in the car. He's still hanging around waiting. Well, that was a replay.
Yeah, but it's just strange. I mean, as you say, maybe they've just decided to give him Brendan just another go, just to kind of he's got his feeling back. So let's have another go at him. So the weather seems to have settled down a lot now. There's very few clouds around. The inflatable chip packet is just blowing a bit in the breeze opposite us. So. Can live with what we've got now. It's quite good. 8:35 in the evening. We've got 18 hours and 25 minutes still to go. A huge amount of time, and we've seen so much action so far. As we just get a few little highlights. The number 3 Audi out in quite a spectacular accident on the straight early on in the race, and it was.
Yep.
This is our biggest casualty so far, the number 8 car so far down the order, because it was involved in that. He was having his own accident while other people were having theirs, and there was all sorts. We still haven't really worked it out.
It was a melee, and that's the thing. The camera didn't really catch all the action, and to be honest, I'm not sure whose fault it was. Or it seemed
Sam
to be.
Bird was caught up in it as well, which is a big disappointment for Sam. So that was. We had a big rainstorm after not long. So the number 1 car, Degrassi, into the pit lane. We're quite keen to see whether he stays in or whether he gets out. 35 car, my friend Mark, having a good old look around as he was going down the straight there. Okay, right, so this man here as well, the 52 car, he's wanted to change something. Seems to be gesticulating as if he wanted a new steering wheel, but I'm not really sure whether that was it. That was the car that was on fire earlier on, so he's back in the pits.
It does look like they're doing something in there. I was just changing the drink.
Yeah, but the car we just saw before we got to the Audi was that 52 Ferrari that was smoking away on the side of the road. Back in the pits. Okay, the Porsche's just been a little bit held up here by the Loeb car. to be honest, I don't think Brendan's in that much of a rush. You don't want to take any silly risks. He's passed now and on his way down the Mulsanne Straight. I remember Chris Hodgins telling me many years ago, he did this when there's no chicanes on the Mulsanne Straight. It's kind of like 90 seconds or whatever of just...
Flat out,
yeah, flat out.
The good old days.
Okay, 3 abreast. There's an Aston on the outside. Now it's the green stripped 1.
So we've got an Aston leading in the Am class, I think. Yep, Christopher Nygaard still in the lead. What's his gap like? Yeah, he seems to have a half-decent little gap. So it's still Aston, Ferrari, Aston. So the second Aston 95 car has got himself up into 3rd position. That's the Danish car of Heinemeyer. So 2 Danes, actually. 2 Danes in the top 3 at the moment, and the 2 Astons, Nygaard and Heinemeyer, both Danish drivers.
I said that 95 car is all Danish drivers as well, isn't it? It's all Danish crew, so huge amount. We talked earlier on about the huge amount of Brits that come here. I think closely run by Danes as well in that fight of the amount of people who are here from each country.
The success of Tom.
Yeah.
It just seems that it's a big thing, and I think they get massive TV coverage because of it. And you know, obviously Tom's in the fight for another win. He was already the record breaker, so let's see how it pans out.
Going for number 10. The gap between him in the moment in 4th place, his car in 4th place, and the one in 3rd is 20 seconds. There was a photograph by Le Mans on Twitter yesterday morning of the rows of grey tents with the little Danish flag on the top. Loads and loads of them, so huge amounts of Danes here, and they're good, great to see them come. As you say, it always makes a bit of a difference if one of your countrymen are at the front end of the field. This gap at the front, Sarrazin and Trullier, is still fluctuating. 59 seconds, 58 seconds.
Yeah, they almost match each other every lap, don't they?
Yeah. Are they now sat there waiting for something to maybe go wrong for one or the other? Because they can't seem to make any time difference on each other, can they?
For the driver, it's pretty black and white. Yeah. It's a case of push. Get your stints out of the way, drive as hard as you can drive, minimize the gap, and pass on to the next driver. And if and when something goes wrong for your competitors, you're ready to pounce. Okay,
we're in the Porsche pit here. There's tyres coming out. There's obviously fuel going.
Is that Hartley?
Well, I'm not really sure. We need to wait and see who comes past us. Radio. Track conditions getting better, and what's getting better?
The understeer. I think he's been suffering from a bit of understeer.
Right, it's a 14,
so it's Lieb coming into the pits now from 6th position. So yeah, Ben was talking about the track conditions coming to them. It's obviously cooling off a bit. That's a big factor. If it's cooling down a bit, there's a bit less understeer in the car. He's a bit happier with it, and he's able to whack in some quick times. Last time round, 3:26. So he's, I think we're going to see the times start to tumble now. The track's obviously rubbering up and it's cooling down, and that's when the times come.
That's what we want to see. Okay, the P2 category, that's a big lead now for the 35 car. It's up to 34. It's just dropped to 33.5 seconds just at the end of that lap. The pro category, the GT Pro category, Westbrook leads from Senna, 30.7. Senna just dropping 3.5 seconds in that last lap, so traffic a bit for him. Okay, now a pole winner, Kazuki Nakajima sorting himself out, just had a drink out of his drinks bottle. And the pipe sticking out the front of the helmet is what they'll plug in. Now, I suspect Nakajima is going to be getting into this car very soon. The meteoric stints of Stefan Sarrazin are coming to an end.
Well, he's about to, well, at the moment, he's just on his fastest first sector. So he might just do one more lap just to
finish it off, maybe, yeah. But he might not have enough fuel to do one more lap. And do they leave it that close?
Oh, they know exactly when to...
Yeah, it doesn't matter that you might be on a fastest lap here. You're coming in.
They know exactly how much they can do. There's a lot of data going from the car back to the pits.
Do you have readouts in the dashboard of what fuel you're using? Now, obviously, they're having to monitor this fuel because they're on limited fuel per, and I think they have to, it works itself out over 3 laps, doesn't it?
Well, actually, you're seeing a number either going up or coming down.
And, that's it. You've got to stick to whichever one the engineers tell you.
And you tell them, well, you know, in the cars I normally drive, they'll ask you, what's the number at? What's the fuel consumption? And you tell them, and they'll work it out from there. But they know roughly when you're going to pit anyway. It's just a case of, because obviously you get some drivers can actually get another lap out of the car anyway. Especially on a shorter circuit, they can actually, with the fuel consumption, the way they drive, not necessarily even if they're driving a second or two off the pace, they can still quickly drive the car and get an extra lap or two out of it, depending on the circuit, and therefore it's you know, they're a big asset in endurance racing.
Yeah, your final pit stop at the end of the whole race is less because you're putting less fuel into it.
Yeah, so a lot of, you know, at the moment.
I thought.
Yeah, but he's going to complete this lap.
Yeah,
so.
he is. Yeah.
So Sarrazin at least once for more round, and then he might come into the pits. But you know, left foot braking is quite prevalent now in racing. It's the in thing.
24.335.
So he is on it. He's obviously near the end of his fuel. But as I was saying, left foot braking tends to be a bit hard on fuel consumption because you always overlap with the throttle and the brake. So it's obviously what rally drivers do as well, and it's hard on fuel. So all the Audi drivers have been told they're not allowed to left foot brake, they have to right foot brake. So some guys like Lotterer, who goes back to Japan and drives Super GT, will go back to left foot braking in Japan and get back in this car. But, so yeah, they're looking for a change in the Audi as well.
Yeah. Team radio.
So that's Ben being told, okay, you can go again. If your tires look good, you're going to do another stint. And Marcel's standing in the pits now. Number 8's into the pits as well. So remember, they came out together last time as well. So they've done an identical amount of laps. The Toyota of Buemi and
Buemi had a big lockup coming into there. I don't know, I mean...
He's got out of the car and he's putting new tyres on, so he's not fussy about those tyres, whereas Ben...
No, but I was just worried whether he was over the limit because he was on the speed limiter. So they're going to look at these tyres, that's what they were saying. If they're okay...
Yep, so they will fuel it first. It doesn't look like Marcel's going to get in. I think Ben's staying in for one more.
Well, they've changed the drinks bottle.
Yeah, he's staying in. Just fuel, and he'll send him. Marcel just had to be ready, just in case.
He was stood there with his seat in his hand, ready to go. So is that an extra stint, do you believe, for Ben? Because he's having such a good run, keep him in the groove?
Well, what I think's potentially happened is they've come from the hotter temperature to the cooler temperature now. So it's getting cooler. Earlier in the race, they probably couldn't have done the extra stint that Ben's about to do now. Now it's cooler, the tyres are lasting longer, and maybe Ben's slightly easier on tyres than Andre Lotterer as well.
Team radio for 7.
Yeah. So, yeah, confirmed, 7 back in, coming into the box. So Sarrazin's in this lap. Ben's out. Let's see what happens. Driver change and tyre change. So Kazuki's in the car. So that will take longer. So Ben will close the gap on him, which is what they want to do.
That's it. Yeah. Kazuki there, obviously with his seat. I mean, we talked earlier again about the height differences in drivers, and Gazuki, are you going to fit his seat in? I mean, do they fit in easy, those seats?
Yeah, and they're made in the car, and then they're made to slip in and out pretty easy, so it won't cost any time at all. You know, they'll be in and out, and because they've got a tyre change as well, that just adds the extra time. So he'll be well ready.
Yeah.
Famous last words, but he should be.
Yeah. I think the Toyota number 7, Stefan Sarazano, can be very, very pleased with that stint that he's done.
That's it. He can go and rest up and get something to eat, get a massage.
Here he comes.
Really pushing hard in. Yep. Hits his marks down to 60. Looks good. Toyota quite early in the pit, so he'll just swing over.
Yeah, we noticed that they've kept them separate. There's one at one end, one in the middle, one at the other end.
Yeah, Toyota, Porsche, and then Audi. Yeah. So, yeah, no big rush.
No big rush. Stefan didn't even look at Nakajima when he got out. Just, I've done my job. Well, there it is.
They've got a helper, so the guy leading in from the other side of the car is allowed to help the driver get in, belt him in, get it all sorted. Kazuki looks quite cool about it. Pull the door closed, job done. Tires are going on now.
Drinks bottle to connect up, radio to connect up.
Yeah. It just shows you from the Audi, they work from the other side. From the Toyota, they work from the right-hand side.
Okay, this guy's quick. He was on pole, wasn't he? So he knows his way around. First Japanese driver to be on pole. So let's just see what he can do. Take him a lap or two to get back into the groove.
Yeah, to be fair, I think they're all on a pretty similar pace. I don't see him doing. I mean, yeah, I think his lap times will be good because he's got the best conditions. So he's got a brand new tyre on the car now. He's got a cool condition. Sun's going down. It's maybe in his eyes a bit, but the car's obviously good. He's fully lit now. See the sun glinting in the background. He's just getting himself settled in.
It is quite amazing how you can go from being just stood there to 320 odd kilometers an hour in the space of about 25 seconds. And it's just
well, you're programmed.
Yeah,
you know, you've done it so many times before.
Yeah, you just get into it and get going. It's like you were saying, when there's a safety car out and you're only doing 120 kilometers an hour, you're kind of like, wow, what is going on? We're just not moving here.
So still looking down the order to the GT-Pro. Westbrook still got the lead by 28 seconds over Senna. Fisichella 33 seconds behind Westbrook. So Senna and Fisichella aren't far apart. Only 5 seconds. Again, similar times. Porsche's still slightly out of it.
Okay, when they complete this lap, we will find out roughly what the gap is between the number 7 Toyota and the number 2 Audi for first and second place. Remember, Toyotas have had a driver change, whereas the number 2 Audi didn't. They kept Benoit in the car for another stint.
So you've got the two ex-Formula 1 drivers going to have a bit of a battle out here. Yeah, we haven't really seen much of the Ferrari since the start.
Since they put it on pole, really?
Yeah, since the pole position, you know, lap, we haven't really seen that much of them, and it's all been about the Porsches and now the Corvette up there in the lead. So it'd be good if we can get the Ferrari back into this race and have them duke it out. Very wide on the exit to Mulsanne corner there, Fisichella, really putting the car wide over the curbs. Coming down to Indianapolis now, very fast part of the circuit. Just watch those trees on the outside there. Tricky corner, second part of Indianapolis. We've already seen a couple of cars go straight on there. You take the first part real quick, and you've got to really check the car up. It's banked, so you've got the camber in your favor, but if you get your braking wrong, you can tend to sail on into the gravel, and it's tricky.
Okay, so the gap Nakajima is still on his outlap, so we've got to wait for him to complete that just to get a 100% gap, a virtual gap of the split. 66 has just spun.
Just seen Ant Davison now in the number 8 car. So Buemi got out of the car, Ant Davison got in. Straight away he's gone purple in the first sector. So he's Ant Davison
he's
properly
chomping at the bit, isn't he? He's been waiting a while.
So first, the fastest overall in the first sector. Let's see how his lap time. That's only his first flying lap as well, because that's 4:41 out of the pits. So interesting to see how that's going to develop. You know, as I said before, they really don't have a lot to lose. They're probably not going to win it from way back there in 16th position, but they can certainly put on a show and support the lead car. '97 Aston. Bruno's still in the car, just gone down the inside of a Ferrari
Here comes
there.
the number 2 Audi. We're going to get a gap here, a proper gap as it goes across the line. 37.799, so 37.8, because they gained. So what was that? That was a 23-second gain by not changing the driver, because it was a minute 59 point something when they went in there. So
they are going to lose it next time around, though, because
yes.
Ben will get out the car, Marcel will get in, and they'll change tyres. But it just shows you they can
Ben
possibly
might not want to get out of the car.
Well, I think he will. I think he'll be a bit tired.
He's had a good stint, hasn't he?
Westbrook now. Again, driving well. Last lap, 3:57. Senna, 3:57. Fisichella, 3:57. So all the front cars pretty much lapping the same pace. The Porsche slightly off, doing 4:01, and then you've got Jordan Taylor in the other Corvette, 3:58.
The 66 car being put back into the pits now. We've just seen that spin. It's being put back into the pits as we kind of gear ourselves up for a commentary team change.
Yep, we've done a triple stint. Next one will be a double triple, so
yeah,
looking forward to that.
Really?
Well,
so we sort ourselves out, and yes, Nakajima really at 1.5 seconds. So not 1.5 seconds, 0.7 up on the first sector. He's in through the second sector. Car Audi number 2 heading towards us. 86 laps completed. And it is Toyota number 7 still in the lead, which was Toyota number 7 leading when we joined. But some encouraging stints. Sarazan was very quick. Degrassi's been quick as they have completed there. And Sarazan out now for a well-earned break. Degrassi will be out the next time, I think, and so will Benoit. He nearly got out and then he didn't get out. So what's this replay of here?
a little bit flying off the rear wing.
Small bit of stuff flying off the number 7 Toyota on the straight, just a tiny bit.
A little bit of carbon.
As we get ready for a change of commentary team. Okay, we'll be back with you soon.
So, welcome back to Le Mans, and, well, to some extent, welcome back to us. Giles Dawson and Bob Constanduras here. We're just past, or just coming up to 21 hours. That'll be, what's that, 6 hours of racing completed. That's just a quarter distance.
That's a normal WEC race.
Yeah, exactly.
Distance. So these guys are used to finishing about now. And I'm sure all the crews just get into the stage now where ready for some food and settle into these nice consistent stints that I think we've seen over the last 3 hours.
Yes, it's finally settled down after that rather unpleasant weather we had earlier on. So quite nice that we've got a nice sunny evening. And actually, have they taken the remote with them?
No, over here. We're all right. They haven't pinched it.
Just going to give you some idea of the conditions out there. With an ambient temperature of 22 degrees and a track temperature 0.1 of a degree difference. So track temperature and ambient very similar. A sun which is going down and obviously beginning to become, excuse me, a little troublesome to some of these drivers as well, as it shines in their eyes. So we've got Kazuki Nakajima in the lead by 43.9 seconds from Benoit Trelouillet in the Audi, Nakajima in the Toyota, of course, the poleman, and about 1 minute and 6 seconds difference from Trelouillet back to Brendan Hartley in the number 20 Porsche, and then Lucas Di Grassi a further not so far behind now, about 15 seconds further back in 4th place. Then a 3-lap gap back to the Rebellion car, number 12 of Matthias Besch has been driving at the moment. Then 2 laps back to the Porsche, the recovering Porsche of Romain Dumas, number 14 in 6th place. And then the first of the LMP2 cars, the Ligier of Pierre Thirier, in 7th place, just ahead, 9.2 seconds ahead of Oliver Webb in the Alpine number 36. In 8th place, in 9th place, John Lancaster, who is a further 4 seconds further back. In fact, yeah, just about 4 seconds further back in number 34, Oreca. And in 10th place, having just left the pits, is the Ligier number 35 of Schultz-Hitzky, which is a further 15 seconds, so it's nice and close in LMP2. Going a little bit further along, we can see Richard Westbrook in the Chevrolet Corvette leading GTE-Pro by 25 seconds from Bruno Senna in the Aston Martin. And then in GTE-Am, we have Christopher Nygaard ahead of, in fact, it's Aston, and then Ferrari. Christopher Nygaard ahead of David Hannemeyer Hansen in the 2 Astons, numbers 98 and 95.
So fantastic to see at the end of what would be a normal WEC race how close all these classes are. P1 and P2 especially. The P2 battle is just absolutely phenomenal to see those guys all going at it, especially that new Ligier. Those guys will be very encouraged by the fact that 6 hours they're running as strongly as they are. The GTE-Pro battle, watching that closely over the last couple of hours at that chopping and changing, and Bruno Senna putting in an absolutely stellar stint at the moment. He's been chipping away at that lead, and as we see him take the lead as Richard Westbrook pits. So Westbrook now on his outlap.
So it's all pretty close, really, all the way through, and fascinating watching the ebb and flow of the leaders out there, the Toyota, Audi and Porsche.
Absolutely, and Kazuki Nakajima back in that Toyota now. We've just seen that change. He obviously was the man that put that car on pole, and I think he's now pulling a larger gap to Ben Trillier in the number 2 Audi. He's just pulled another second on that last lap, so really got his head down and going. But fantastic to see the Porsche still in the fight this far into the race. Brendan Hartley putting in a stonking stint, and Brendan lost a bit of time a little bit earlier with the puncture that we heard Mark Webber talking about.
Not awfully certain that Mark's actually driven that car yet.
No, I think Mark is third driver on that rotation, so I would suggest it'll be the end of this one, because I don't think those guys are going to be quadruple stinting, which of course we've now seen the Audi is capable of doing and is out there doing now. We should be seeing that during the night from the other two, and you know, Toyota, that's where they need to be. They need to be matching Audi as far as that's concerned, to make sure that they're not spending that time in the pits if it's going to be this close, which I certainly think it looks to be as we go into the early evening session. We see a lovely slow-mo shot there of the Audi. Bouncing over the curbs, not sure where that is, but you look at the whole car, the whole body flex. It's amazing actually to see how much movement there is, even in that front splitter, which looks like an extremely stiff member. And some lovely slow-mos here from the producer. That Toyota bouncing up and down on its Michelin rubber. So 24 car in the pits. That car a little way down the order. Jan Charouz, I think that's a change to driver we're seeing now. It is a lap down on the class lead, but that's having a reasonably strong run. About to be had by Anthony Davidson in that charging Toyota, and I think Anthony's out there, man on a mission, trying to pull that car back through.
Well, it was interesting, Nakajima lapping in 3 minutes 25.0 last time. Trellier in, excuse me, 3 minutes 28.2. And Hartley 3 minutes 31.3. So you can just see that's exactly what happens in amongst the traffic.
Yeah, I think Brendan, some of that is traffic, some of that is that car going away, as we see him post a 3:27.6. That's what I was expecting to see from those Porsches throughout this the race, as we see another, is it another SMP car? Nope, that's the 61 car going straight on at, I think that's Arnage. Wouldn't have got away with that last year, would have been straight into a wall, a lot more runoff there.
So 61 car driven by Venturi at the moment, and it's about 5th or 6th in class, 5th in class, so that will have delayed it a little bit. Look at the vibration on that.
I do wonder whether that's long past its best, that at the moment, the Porsche, in terms of the tyres that are under it at the moment, because Brendan definitely, he's stellar run here, and he has had one short stint in this, so it may turn into 3 and a bit stints for him in terms of handing over to Mark. But yeah, the car definitely porpoising quite a lot there when we were on board. And we see the surviving SMP car. These guys, what do they have to do to get some luck? The 27 car getting turned around and put back into the garage. The sister car having retired within the first hour with Nick Manasseh on board when the engine let go, and they've had a bit of a rough time with their 2 Ferrari 458s as well.
In GTE-Pro, as we watch the 97 Aston, that's probably second in class. No, it's a bit further down actually. It's not. I think it's one of the Pro cars, isn't it? 90. And there's 98. Now that is the leading Am car, 98. That's Christopher Nygaard in that car, and he also has in 98 pretty solid crew actually. Paul Dallalana and Pedro Lamy, of course, ex-Formula 1 driver, who sadly his career ended in a testing accident at Silverstone when he actually ended up in a tunnel at Silverstone. Yeah. So Pedro Lamy, a very capable driver when he's and still is a very capable driver, and has made a good living driving these sort of cars. Oh, now that is serious.
That is we can't read the number boards, getting quite dirty. I think that might be number 20 car, so that's Brendan.
Run out of something or other.
The car, the engine sounds to be revving, quite struggling to find the gear there, but he's got it.
And that is at Arnage.
Listen to the engine revving away there as he's trying to engage a gear. I think there's more to that.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're about to see the Porsche guys getting the skates out, the skates that we see them put under the car to turn the car around and put it back into the garage.
Was in third place, Brendan Hartley. That's the car that he's sharing with Mark Webber.
So the marshals can help him here. They can give that car a little push back if he's struggling to engage the gears, and he can then get that car back round through the Porsche curves into the pit lane.
Mark Webber and Timo Bernhardt. There's he'll be getting instructions over the radio, being told what to do.
Pulling at paddles there, so definitely having problems engaging gears. Let's hope that he's not seen some kind of terminal failure there.
He's already lost third place to Lucas Di Grassi in the second of the Audis.
Looks like he's got that car going forwards now as he pulls at the paddle for another gear. So is he back up to foot? Here we are. Here's the replay. Locks the left front. Nothing looked particularly wrong there other than a quick lock-up. These hybrid systems are so complex that you know, it's very difficult to say what's going on there. It could well be that there's an issue there.
Bit of push coming from somewhere, making him go straight on.
And even equally, you know, even a lack of braking capacity, because the hybrid system does an awful lot of the braking. So that's something that's new for these cars for this year. And you know, as it's regenerating that energy, those motors are actually doing a lot of the stopping. Stops fine now as he comes past us to into the pit lane, onto the pit limiter. Let's see what happens here. Whether it's just a case of strap Mark Webber in and put 4 new tyres on it and a full tank of fuel, or if there's more to it than that. I think, as Bob had said, there was a lot of vibration going on there, and often vibration can easily cause you a little lock-up like that.
Into the garage or not into the garage? We're refueling first, as you say, always refuel. Out comes Brendan, and goes Mark Webber. Queen Bien's best. There he is, and he gets strapped in. Well, that would seem pretty, whatever it was a problem for Brendan. They're not pushing it into the garage, are they?
No, so it does look like that was driver error, but I do think there might have been a flat spot there, as you said, with the car bouncing an awful lot, so perhaps a flat spot somewhere else, but that sticker tyres going on now.
New boots go on.
And Mark in for at least a triple stint. The Porsche is not managing the 14 lap stints we expected so far. We're seeing 13 laps from those guys, so let's see what Mark can do. As we see the number 1 Audi.
So he rejoins in 4th place, Mark Webber.
You have to say that 14 Porsche has done a stonking job coming back through. It's not dropped any further behind, but now up to 6th, closing in on the P1L car of Matthias Besch, the Rebellion.
5 laps behind the leaders, however.
Which is what it was. It's not going to be a... No, absolutely. But another one where we would hope to see the supporting role, but...
Look at that visibility, especially through a dirty windscreen with a lot of bugs on it.
So the guys from Michelin having a look at what's come off that car. I suspect they're going to see something there that they can do something about. They can make setup changes as this race goes on. Certainly front wing adjustments, something we saw going on during qualifying. These cars don't look like they have a front wing in a Formula car style, but they do. This is the first time this year they have that feature. They certainly, there's a front wing under there that they can go in and make an adjustment with a very simple screwdriver to change the balance, and lots of things they can do electronically to change the balance as well.
Well, a beautiful evening here at Le Mans. We've had rain showers earlier on, and in fact we had a stint with under the safety car because of the heavy rain, and incidents for particularly for the Toyota number 8, and also the retirement of the third Audi number 3, which sadly cut the entry. But number 8 now up into 12th position. It is about 8 laps behind the leaders. So it's caught back up, and it'll be coming through the field. It's got quite a few LMP2 cars ahead of it, which it can easily dispose of quite easily. But at the moment, Toyota number 7 out in the lead with Kazuki Nakajima aboard, and he was the super quick guy who set pole position here. Benoit Trillier now in 2nd place.
Another left rear puncture for a Porsche. This is becoming quite commonplace. This is the second one we've seen, and in the Porsche Carrera Cup race earlier, it took out the leader. So these Porsches, the 997 in this instance, this being the Pro Speed car, with second left rear puncture. They're going to have to be very careful as this race goes on. Going back to what you were just saying, Bob, about the incident involving the Audi and the Toyota number 8 car. Just reading that press statement from Nick Lapierre, he just didn't seem to know what had happened. He just came across it all extremely quickly.
Yeah, and he didn't really, yes, exactly, he didn't quite understand what had happened. So, and actually, you know, with the visibility, you can imagine you're just completely lost.
So that is definitely one of the Pro Speed cars.
Right, there we are.
There we go, the 79 car.
79.
Driven by, currently in the 79 is Jerome Bleekemolen.
That's the second one, actually, Jerome has had.
He's actually extremely quick peddler.
Yeah, that's the second puncture he's had. Because he was apologising on Twitter for having a bit of a major moment. So not very nice for him at all. So he'll be staggering back to the pits, hoping to keep that tyre together as well, because we don't want to leave debris lying around. But Jerome, a very experienced driver and a very capable driver, son of Michel Bleekemolen, and brother of Sebastian.
That car actually only being shared between 2 drivers now this weekend, because unfortunately Brett Curtis was asked not to drive by the doctors. So Mr. Bleekemolen, I think, is going to be doing the vast majority of this race. There's rules as to how many hours he can drive, but he's certainly the more experienced between himself and Cooper McNeil. But Cooper
he's about to lose some of that tyre, isn't he?
He is.
He's going quite quickly on it, actually.
And online as well, which I'm not sure if that's the best thing for it, but he's doing a good job of just trying to get it back. And the punctures seem to all have happened right at the start of the lap for him, which is pretty.
Maybe people going off into the dust and dirt up at the Dunlop curves, bringing stones on there.
Absolutely, that's one of the reasons we've seen the change here at the Ford chicane with the big baguette curbs to make sure that gravel is not pulled onto the circuit, which is causing an awful lot of punctures we've seen over the last couple of years. And as we see the LMP1 cars now coming through the LMP2 battles.
Well, Jerome Bleekemolen, just to go back to him, of course, a 2-time Super Cup winner of the Porsche Super Cup. So certainly a very, very capable driver indeed. So I didn't actually see that Porsche race earlier on. Was that Earl Bamber who was leading that?
No, they was...
Ben Barker won it in the end.
Ben Barker won it in the end. Earl had gone out early on. I think Earl had Earl had a little incident with halfway down the Mulsanne and with somebody turning a little bit left into him, and one of the cars tried to fly. The leader on the last lap was the man that had the puncture, and he's doing a lot of damage to that left rear corner.
Quickly, isn't he? Yes. It's Jerome Bleekemolen. But hasn't got too far now to go, I don't think. Just hope we don't lose that tyre, and I mean, look, Marshall has to come onto the track. Mark Webber now posted as being, ooh, he's about to lose it. It's just that tyre, isn't he? Ooh, and he's just so difficult. It's actually almost as difficult driving at that pace as it is driving at racing pace, because you just want to be in the right part of the track. You don't want to be in the wrong part of the track, etc.
Absolutely. The incident we saw on Thursday night that befell the Pegasus Racing LMP2 car, caused by ultimately
Lucas di
Grassi cutting across the circuit in a similar situation. He'd nosed the car into the barrier and was trying to bring the thing back, but it caught, coming through the karting corners, really caught the Pegasus car out, which went into the wall on both sides, and a heavy old bang. And of course it was Kevin Estra that was leading the Porsche Carrera Cup race here earlier today, when he had the blowout and unfortunately cost him the victory. But certainly Ben Barker doing a fine job of bringing that car home, and I do think that, as we said earlier, we're going to see Ben in a Porsche factory drive sometime not too far away.
He's quite long wheelbase though, isn't he? That's his slight problem.
He is, yeah, absolutely. But these GTE cars, Jorg Bergmeister and people like that, were fairly long wheelbase themselves.
Yeah, Jorg is as well, yes. Yeah.
So the 7 car now charging off into the evening. 3:26.6 last time round, which was quicker than the 2 chasing him. So he is pulling a nice little lead here. Kazuki Nakajima doing a fantastic job here this weekend, having been the man that went out there and set the pole time. We expected to see Ant Davidson out there doing that, but Kazuki favoured for that role, and showing why. Certainly the times he's putting in are phenomenal.
He's actually he's matured actually with this Toyota drive. I remember him with Williams Toyota when he was in Formula 1. And, you know, perfectly nice, capable guy, but it's almost as though it was too early, you know, and now he's a more mature driver, a more mature person as well. Oh, there's the Porsche then, has made it back into the pits with whatever amount of tyre he's got left, Jerome Bleekemolen.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for those guys. 2 of them trying to do the complete race, and of course that's not the original car that they started in, so the tyre he did lose it. Yeah. So the carcass is now lying on a curb somewhere by the looks of it. Yeah. So they're not going to learn anything from what's gone on there. Normally, if you get the carcass back, you can at least try and work out why that tyre failed, see if it was a curb. And we see a fire underneath the car, just a small rubber fire. That happens quite often when you're bringing a car back in that sort of situation. That's just hot rubber burning on the silencers, but somebody really ought to just blow a little bit of extinguisher. Just blow it out. There is a man there with an extinguisher ready to, but he's doesn't seem keen to do it.
They're going to put fuel in. It's much better that way.
Yes, absolutely. Into a burning car. Yeah. So fuel's done, and you're going to see them there. He's going to go to work now that the fuel's in, and just that's all it needed, just to put that rubber fire out. But they're going to turn it around and stick it back into the garage.
There we go, back into the garage, and well, let's see how long. Unfortunately, that's going to be detained there for.
Yeah, I feel for those guys. They probably didn't feel like they have any luck with all that's gone on in terms of losing Brett in that car, and now having to do the hard work between 2 of them with a car that just doesn't seem to want to hold its tyres together. So we're just seeing a fastest personal sector from Romain Dumas in the 14 car and sector 1. So he's pressing on.
Yeah.
Still.
Well, it's interesting. Nakajima and Trulli both setting times in the 3-minute 26-second bracket. Then Di Grassi 3-minute 29s last time, and Webber 3 minutes 32 last time. As I say, that can be affected by traffic. 3 minutes 31 for Matthias Besch, which was pretty good. Romain Dumas 3 minutes 28, so he was faster than Di Grassi on that last lap. It comes and goes.
Very impressed with that 12 Rebellion. That car's done very little testing, and they certainly don't have the budget of some of the bigger teams. So,
Actually, sorry, yeah.
So, yeah, they've just completed, again, a WEC race in effect, and they're only 4 laps behind the lead Toyota.
Very good. They've had quite a few pit stops, haven't they, Matthias Besch? He's had 10 pit stops already so far. And into the pits has come Lucas Di Grassi from 3rd place. But the fastest man out of the circuit was Anthony Davidson, 3 minutes 25s.
Absolutely. He's pressing on, but as you said, that car really now playing a support role to the... unless some trouble really comes to this first 5.
Yeah, back in 12th place at the moment, Anthony Davidson. He's got 5 LMP2 cars ahead of him. So number 1 comes into the pits, Lucas Di Grassi. And there it is.
You only stop. Away he goes.
And Marc Genet, who started the weekend in an LMP2 car. That car was built up in about 8 or 9 hours on Thursday, overnight from Wednesday to Thursday, after Loic Duval had a huge accident in it, and they virtually built a brand new car. It was in free practice, so they could do that, build up a new car for the surviving the drivers that were left, and then they drafted Marc Genet from Jota to replace Loic Duval, and they're currently lying in 3rd place. The number 1 car, with Tom Christensen, of course, aboard as well. Tom Christensen and, well, Lucas Di Grassi, and now Marc Genet. Marc Genet has been a works driver for quite a long time. He's had a couple of tests, he knows the car, and so it wasn't a surprise to put him in the car. It wasn't anything that he's incapable of. Obviously, they wouldn't put somebody in if he wasn't capable.
Absolutely. So unfortunately we're seeing a retirement for the 13 Rebellion with a powertrain problem, is all those guys are saying. That's a shame for those guys, but the 12 continues to march on, and the 66 JMW Ferrari with a braking problem, so discs and calipers being replaced all round on that car back in the garage, which we saw as we were doing our quick pit stop, being pushed back in. Marc Genet on his outlap, gone through the first sector and now beginning to press on.
Sorry?
The car that he has come from, Harry Ticknell, back in that, in the P2 Zytek, run by the Jota squad, and Harry on that previous lap setting a fastest for LMP2 middle sector, so he's back pushing, and we saw that car running at the front. Don't know really what befell that car, but it suddenly went backwards quite quickly towards the end of Harry's first stint, but back in the car now, and the car's certainly working.
Leading LMP2 is the number 35 Ligier, and that's the car of the slightly impossible to pronounce Mark Schulz-Kapitsky from Vladivostok in Russia.
So that's the Nismo gamers, the Nismo athletes leading the P2 class in that brand new Ligier. That's absolutely fantastic.
Incredible, really. There he is in 7th place overall at Le Mans. Got a long way to go, of course. And number 46 is in 2nd place there. That's again a Ligier. So these 2 brand new Ligiers. That's quite a story. But this car of Pierre Thirier, Tristan Gomendi, and Ludovic Badi driving in 2nd place, just what was the margin, 40 seconds further back, and then a further 9 seconds further back is number 34, and that's the Oreca of Michel Frey. We've been talking about him. John Lancaster, a winner in GP2, and Frank Mayer with lots of experience in this class of racing.
Yeah, and great to see that Ligier doing so well. I'm sure that's going to spark plenty of interest for those guys in the different power plants as well in the back of those two cars. So proving that it's a very, very capable chassis. And good to see not just Nissans at the front of LMP2, because that has been the way over recent years, just Nissan up there, but now the HPD engine here being represented well, and should see some more diversity next year, hopefully.
And look at Kazuki-san, he's really flying, 3 minutes 24.577.
Okay, so we hear Lena Gay talking to Ben Treadway there about the balance of the car. That would indicate to me that we're going to be seeing that car coming in the not too distant future. They're thinking about what to do with it, whether to balance tyre pressures or whether it needs more than just a tweak, but certainly seems to be going all right. 3:28 towards the end of a stint.
Do you actually ever hear a driver saying, actually, it's really good, I'm really enjoying myself, it's fantastic?
I don't think I've ever had that. No.
And, you know, in endurance racing, they seem to have much more time. You know, you can virtually do an interview while they're going around. You know, they're chatting away.
Especially around this circuit, you know,
yeah.
the joke was, you know, they're so relaxed, you know, they're driving around and, you know, touching their faces, having a scratch. And it is... there are some long straights here, some long sections where the drivers can relax and are probably quite happy to be quite talkative. So the 3 car now being chased down by the Toyota. Coming out of the first chicane on the Mulsanne straight here, and they're going to be doing some lapping. This will be interesting. Which side are they going to go? Past the Aston. So Darren Turner now taking over that 97 car in GTE-Pro, now down to 3rd, with Giancarlo Fisichella in the 51 Ferrari 2nd, and Richard Westbrook leading the class. That's changing on the pit stop rotation now, so those cars so close together still. We're seeing 21-second gap there. Car 60 reported as single headlight, so that car's going to get brought in to be repaired. One of the rules that's very strictly enforced is that you must have all your lights working. So
one of the mysteries was the incident that sidelined, well, it delayed number 8 Toyota, which we're riding on board with at the moment, and excluded or caused the retirement of Marco Bononomi's Audi number 3. Bononomi said, I had no chance in the accident. I drove slowly in the heavy rain in order to take no risks on slicks. The situation with the Toyota turned out okay, but then the Ferrari drove into my car. So I think they had the incident together with the Toyota, and then that's what I thought I saw was the Ferrari came past Sam Bird in the Ferrari and clipped the Audi, clipped the front of the Audi.
Yeah, talking to some people in the paddock, I think there's some feeling both ways on that one. Nobody's quite sure whether who was at fault.
Yep.
Sam getting some of the blame as we see the 8 car trying to get past the 2. Yeah, Sam getting some of the blame for that, for going too quickly in the wet conditions, but equally, you know, the Toyota clearly doing exactly the same thing. And we've got the KCMG car, unfortunately, missing the whole front end, and that's not a place that you want to see that. But the driver, okay, are moving around inside that car, and I think he's now considering what to do about getting it moving forward. I'm sure that's it is the KCMG Oracle 03R. And on board that car, I think at the moment is Alexander Impriatori. So that's not a good place to go off. And what's he done?
Ooh, wow.
Now that's a consequence of using that very grippy high grip tarmac. The high grip tarmac, the car loaded up. It caught it and then it went the other way, so that's the safety car we're going to see while they try and clear that. and the 2 Audi taking this opportunity. Absolutely brilliant strategy there, and the 8 Toyota. Both of those cars which we saw running together taking the opportunity to come in and get this done. Interesting to see the 8 Toyota now starting to play its strategic part in this battle, starting to play with those Audis. And we've seen this so many times in the Peugeot Audi era that they would send the car that had broken or the car that had been in the wall out to go